Alright everybody, welcome back to Conquering Commander. Today we're going to be looking at my Skithiryx the Blight Dragon deck. For the complete deck list, go to puremtgo.com, look up Conquering Commander, and you'll be able to see it drawn out nicely and neatly like this. It'll have everything laid out. I'll put a link to this in the video description in a little bit as well. This deck came about because it's not necessarily a deck that I would probably typically consider playing, but a while back I got a recommendation for a Skittles deck, and obviously Skithiryx usually goes by Skittles, back in June, so sorry Puff and stuff, it's taken me a few months, but he basically says I'd like to see a Skittles deck even if you're playing against one, as far as I know there isn't one in your vids. So yeah, I decided, you know what, initially I wanted to put it together as more of a budget deck, because I thought Skittles was a rough enough commander to play against that he'd be able to win consistently on a budget, but he can't. He can't on an MTGO budget of like under 20 tickets. It's just tough because he faces enough hate where it's necessary to pay or to get some of the more expensive cards. In addition, Skittles kind of has a bad reputation, especially in Commander, where, you know, he's got flying and effect, so he's evasive. I hate that. He's evasive, and he can kill people with just 10 damage. Plus, he can regenerate and has haste as well. So he's got a lot of good things going for him, and he comes in mono black. And, you know, I know whenever I see Skittles, he's usually the first person I target at the table, even if the Skittles player doesn't seem like it's the most aggressive or the fastest or most powerful deck. But I figured, you know what, I'm going to step outside my comfort zone here for a little bit and try something a little different, and I went with him. So obviously, you don't want to cast Skittles until you have 6 mana, because you want him to have haste when he gets out there. One thing to realize about Skittles is that he will eat every tuck spell that your opponents can throw at him. People will hold on to their hallowed burials until after he's in play, just so they can get rid of him. They'll search up hinders and condemns with tutors just so they can get rid of him. He's going to get tucked a lot. So when I made this deck, I wanted to make sure that it could win even without Skittles. And I didn't want to be overly reliant on the infect mechanic as well. On the plus side, though, he is a dragon, which is awesome. So, all right, let's take a look at the deck here. The first thing I wanted to do was kind of like work on my mana abilities. I wanted to be able to play Skittles early, if at all possible. When you start playing this deck, you don't want to be easy on people. You don't want to spread the damage around. If you infect one person once, you're going to want to infect them over and over again until they're dead. So you can't be nice. But that also means if you get them out early, you can. So this is all the mana help we have. Now, some of it's more like big mana help, and some of it's more cheap mana stuff. Caged Sun, Cryptghast, which helps with the extort mechanic. Magus of the Coffers, Liliana of the Realms, which can help you consistently hit your land drops or pump Skittles to one-hit somebody. Charcoal Diamond, Armillary Spheres, Journeyer's Kite. There's a lot of stuff that relies upon the number of swamps in the deck, and being able to consistently get your swamps is good. Leaden Mirror, Plague Mirror is an effect card, but you know, is also able to add 1 mana. Jet Medallion. There are a lot of artifacts in this deck, but it is nice to be able to reduce the cost of your black manas spells. Mindstone, Soul Ring, Falling Glaciers, again, more swamps. Mana Crypt. Lake of the Dead was a 2-headed sword. It was cool for giving the immediate boost to your mana, but it does eat up your swamps, so use it carefully if you do. Narcana Revenant and Palladium Myr. I've always liked Narcana Revenant's art. Maybe it's just because I'm a dirty old man. I don't know. But Palladium Myr also helps ramp it all as well. So with these cards, you have the ability to cast Skittles on turn 3 with haste. Sometimes you don't want to do that, but sometimes you do. Black is good at dealing with problems and blowing stuff up. So let's take a look at what we got. We got Graveyard Hate with Nihil Spellbomb. Slaughter Pact, because again, you do like to tap out with Skittles in play sometimes. It's nice to be able to destroy stuff without any mana. Although I did once get killed because I had Slaughter Pact with the payment trigger on the stack, and somebody mana shorted me, and so I couldn't pay for it and died. So that does happen. Maze of Ith is a pain in the ass, so Tectonic Edge and Strip Miner there. Bajuka Bog is more graveyard hate. Steel Hellkite helps get rid of enchantments and artifacts. Karn Liberated does the same thing, so does Spinovish Saw. Spread the Sickness, it's a little high for the mana cost, and I'll be honest, I would probably replace this with Hero's Downfall. I just haven't picked that card up yet. If you could put Hero's Downfall in here for Spread the Sickness, I would do that. The Proliferate was not necessary. Sever the Bloodline is good for dealing with indestructible creatures. There's a bunch of them running around out there now. Damnation, Dark Imposter, again, indestructible creatures, go bye-bye with him. Bone Shredder, Oblivion Stone, Withered Wretch, Nezumi Grave Robber, go for the throat. It's funny because I teased Royal Owl when I was playing Two-Headed Giant. I'm like, who the heck plays Go for the Throat? I'm playing Go for the Throat, so there it is. Black is very good at tutoring stuff up. I didn't want to go overboard with the tutors, but I did have 3. Diabolic Revelation, this is the first time I played with this card. What I did like to do with it was Diabolic Revelation for 3. And the 3 cards I would get would be Cabal Coffers, Urborg, and Zhao Dun. And so what I would do is typically I would play the Coffer, or play Urborg that turn, Coffers the next turn, and then Zhao Dun to get back the Diabolic Revelation so that I could tutor for more stuff. So it takes 2 turns to really do it, but I'll be honest, that's typically what I did most of the time. The other card you could get is Profane Command as well. And then I got Runescar Demon, Demonic Tutor, and Vampiric Tutor. Card draw is important. It's interesting, I don't have as many card draw spells as I thought I would in this deck. I do have Bloodgift Demon, Promise of Power, Skeletal Scrying, because I didn't always use my graveyard that much. So instant speed card draw ended up working out well. Graveborn Muse, Underworld Connections, Sign in Blood, and Phyrexian Arena. You'll notice that all the card draw hurts me. I have only one method of life gain in this deck, and that is Loxodon Warhammer. I felt it was necessary just so that I did have some way of gaining life. My Recursion is in here with Zhao Dun, who I had already mentioned. Profane Command, which is good if you can produce a lot of mana. Elixir of Immortality. Oh, that's a life green card right there. And Volrath Stronghold. So there is some recursion, so you've got to be choosy when you decide what you're gonna skeletal scrying. But typically, like, you scrying for 4 or something like that, and you can usually leave your good stuff in the graveyard if you want. Alright, now we're going to talk about pumping up Skittles so that he can hit people hard. O Naginata is a good way to turn him into a 2-hit killer. It gives him trample, and it's cheap. Warhammer is another trample giver. Champion's Helm I wanted to experiment with just to give him hexproof and make him another 2-hit killer. I never drew this card. I never tutored for it, but I guess it could be good. I'm not sure. This is a purely experimental card. So if you find you don't like the helm, feel free to yank it out. Ascendant Evankar pumps him and squishes little dudes. Endless Scream. This is just a fun, goofy card that I found, and I decided to go ahead and stick it in the deck, and I actually got a win out of it, so that's a fun card as well. Let's see here. We've also got a couple of equipment in Nightmare Lash, Lash Writhe, and Bone Horde. And all of these can serve to pump Skittles or be, well, Bone Horde and Lash Writhe are both good at being creatures themselves. So, that's good. The defense, the deck does need some defense, so I decided to go ahead and use Crawl Space, which ended up helping me out more than once. You'd think sometimes it's not the best card because you have Voltron commanders, and it's just, oh, I only need to attack you with one dude anyways. There are a lot of token decks running around out there, and this kind of slows them down. Sudden Spoiling helped me out more than once. And then Vampire Nighthawk, nobody likes attacking into him. And then there's Dread, who's a living No Mercy as well. You could add No Mercy to the deck if you want instead of Crawl Space, but that's just something that that's just a decision I made. As for the Infect aspect of the deck, it's not very much. You know, I've got Tainted Strike just in case somebody else attacks with a huge creature. You can always Tainted Strike some other big creature and take somebody out. Phyrexian Crusader is good just for the 2 protection abilities. Inkmoth Nexus, I never attacked with him, but he was there. And Contagion Clap. I did not use Contagion Engine because he just cost a lot, and his activated ability was a lot. And I only used this guy once. This is another guy where I was kind of iffy on, not 100% sure if I really needed it or not. But it's in the deck. I also wanted ways to protect Skittles or make him unblockable. Dothi Embrace is awesome. I recommend that if you have a black Voltron commander, you use him. There's also Praetor's Grasp. That's not really part of the category, but it's good at grabbing stuff. Swiftfoot Boots gives him haste and hexproof. Rogue's Passage lets him sneak through. And then Imp's Mischief is just a fun, goofy card that's cheap as well. We also have Shizo, Death's Storehouse, to give him fear so he can sneak past people. And then Cavern of Souls so that he can not get countered. I always pick Dragon. If we look at the lands over here, the lands are basically your basic. It's got Coffers, it's got Urborg, and it's got Deserted Temple, which is good with the Underworld connections as well as Coffers. Maze of Ith is more protection. Petrified Field is good recursion for when somebody blows up your Coffers, which is typically going to happen. And then Phyrexia's Core is there just to sacrifice the Spine of Ishsa. Right there. So, you know, the deck does have, I'll be honest, it plays a little more like a control deck than like an aggro deck. And that's sort of by design. I just didn't want to be overly reliant on Skittles, but what I wanted to do was have Skittles be able to kill people really quickly if I needed to. Now, there are a lot of Infect cards out there that I didn't use. If you wanted to go overboard and like go full on Infect, you could put a lot of these guys in there. There's also Proliferate stuff as well that you could do. To be honest, like, I don't know. I guess I'm not really sure you need any of these cards in this deck, honestly. For a minute there, I had Phyresis in the deck, but it just, I didn't really want to add it to anybody except for like maybe Narcana Revenant or something. No, I don't want you. So that's the deck. The interesting thing about playing this deck is I thought I would get more hate than I actually did, but I did not. You know, a lot of people have kind of gotten over the initial fear of seeing Skittles on their deck. That doesn't mean they won't tuck him at their first opportunity, but I wasn't automatically targeted most of the time, which obviously helped me. But it was good that that people have kind of gotten over the fear of Skittles. And I, you know, personally, after seeing this deck and playing this deck, I've kind of gotten over my fear of Skittles as well. Let's just take a quick look at the stats. The average CMC is 3.13, and it's got pretty much a nice little curve going all the way down. I top off at 7. Most of my stuff costs 2. And there we go. So, anyway, that's the deck. And this is your Converter Mana Cost pile as well. So, these are all my X spells. Yeah, the top of your curve is Runescar Demon, Karn Liberated, and Spine of Ishsa. You know, I actually kind of had fun playing this deck. I'll be honest, it took me a little while to get over that sort of like icky feeling of like infecting somebody out on like turn 5. But you can't hold back with Skittles, because once you start holding back, people will take advantage of that and you'll just get ganged up on. So you want to take people out as quickly as possible. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that overview and stick around for some gameplay action.